Hey everybody, welcome to Unfiltered and Intentional. Thank you for tuning in now, later, a year from now, whatever you do. I get comments from all the way back from my very first episode, like, oh, it's my very first time. So just thank you for tuning in. Today is the 29th of August, and there's a lot to talk about. But before we go into anything and introduce our guests and just whatever we're going to talk about, Ty, can you tell them what to do, please?
Hello, all new viewers, and welcome back. And hello to all of our faithful viewers and subscribers. You know, we love you guys so much and appreciate you so much. If you don't know, we are streaming on 2 different platforms. So we're streaming on the Facebook group, Unfiltered and Intentional. So go there, have some great discussion. And we also stream on YouTube at Unfiltered and Intentional, where you can watch us live and comment on both.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, Ty. Once again, like and subscribe on YouTube. I know, like I said, we get comments from the heydays all the way to current. We have people tuning in different times, whatever it works. I thank you and I appreciate, because all we want to do is give back. Like I said, this is August the 29th. And the topic for today is basically how to say goodbye. We're going to focus on relationships of all types. I just want to give my deepest condolences to the 13 soldiers that lost their lives in Afghanistan. It definitely really hurts knowing that I am a veteran as well. I know exactly what those soldiers go through, the ones who have the toughest jobs all the way down to, working in the office type setting, but for somebody to lose their life in this type of situation is like, wow. So I definitely want to give my condolences to those families because they're grieving. And I also want to say, please stay strong. I know right now, as we're speaking, there's individuals going through a Cat 4, 5-ish hurricane. And, we don't know what is going to happen then. And I normally would talk about those things, but, we're going to stay focused, and I just want to keep them in our prayers as well, but you just don't know what they're going through. But we're going to talk about how to say goodbye and how to get over it and just all those good things here. We have a guest, Ms. Vaughn Simmons. Thank you for coming and gracing the presence and teaching us about how to bounce back. I just want to give a little bit synopsis about who you are. Ms. Vaughn Simmons is all about breaking up and bouncing back from expired relationships, situations, and mindsets. And I definitely know that mindset has to change, or you're going to be going in that circle. Through powerful conversation, inspired action, and a magical gift for creating safe and supported environments, she's here to help you get unstuck with big girl decisions and finally achieve the greatest love of all. Definitely will give out her contact information at the end of the show for anybody that has questions. But thank you again, Ms. Vaughn, for blessing us with your presence today. So this conversation about how to break up and bounce back, it's interesting because can't this subject be so universal? It's touching all platforms. What do you do? What are the steps? I mean, because I could go in on stories, what I've seen, but is there a certain formula that you give individuals when they're breaking up, and no matter what it is, or is it something based on, okay, I was married, no, this is a toxic family member? Is it something different? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, I think the first step is recognizing that you're done. And a lot of times we don't do that. We, kind of stay stuck in this whole idea of, should I stay? Should I go? We go back and forth. That's part of the process too. But if you're really ready to release a relationship, a mindset, a situationship, or whatever, you have to really fully understand that it's over and accept why you're leaving. Like, really look at your why, because that why is going to be kind of your North Star throughout the process. So a lot of times people will, break up. They feel like their why is not that important. And then they go back and get with the person again, and they just stay stuck in this makeup to breakup situation. But really, really take a look at your why. Why are you leaving this person? Why are you leaving this friendship? Why are you leaving this family member, this job, whatever? So looking at that, kind of examining what's missing, what the deficiency is, and not just looking at, especially for intimate relationships, not just looking at, okay, I really love this person, so that's why I'm with them. But what you love and what you deserve might be two different things. So you can love them till the cows come home, but what you deserve is something that you're not getting. Then you have to really understand that why, your personal why, is going to be your guiding star to help you get out of that situation.
So if I hear you correctly, in a relationship, of course, there's no perfect person, right?
Right.
I hear older people say, there is no compromise. I've been there, done that. I'm not compromising a damn thing. Like this is exactly what I want.
Yeah.
But again, you hear individuals, who try to tough it out, and they, especially the younger people, and they go back into the relationship. I mean, is there a balance? Because in reference to knowing the why, and then like, am I getting what I want? Should you be compromising?
It depends on what you're looking for in a relationship. So I like to tell people there are like 4 things that you should really keep in mind. You should keep in mind companionship. Is this person the type of companion that you need? Companionship may be at the top of somebody's list and maybe at the bottom of somebody else's list. Then you also have to look at compatibility. Are you guys compatible in terms of your values, your lifestyles, your mindsets, how you manage money, how you raise kids? Compatibility is important. So that might be number 1 for someone else. That might be at the bottom of the list for for another person. And then of course you have to look at sexual chemistry. Are you guys on the same page sexually? That may be at the bottom of somebody's list, maybe at the top of someone else's. And then also commitment. When we think about loyalty and fidelity, commitment might be somebody's number 1. It could be somebody else's number 2 or 3 or 4. So it depends on the individual person. If that person is missing something that's primary to you that you cannot settle for not having, then that deficiency might be enough of a reason for you to go. And then, also, I think we kind of justify why we stay versus why we go. So, your values, what you're looking for is going to be different from someone else's. So everybody's situation is different. Everybody's reason for staying is different. Everybody's reason for leaving is different. So you just have to really know yourself well enough to know what you want, what you need, what's a priority for you, what's something you can compromise on. Maybe it's not as big of a deal as it is for somebody else. But I often hear people like deciding to stay because someone else says that, oh, well, this person is committed to you, they're faithful, so you should stay. But maybe, that commitment level isn't number 1 for you. Maybe you're more interested in the sexual chemistry. So it's up to each individual person.
I don't want to take all the shine and ask all the questions.
Yeah, no. I mean, I love this, just looking at who you are as a person and how you fit with, the potential partner, regardless of if it's a business partner or, like we said, a family dynamic relationship. But what do you say to people that have, very specific habits in who they continue to attach themselves to? How do you address that?
That's an excellent question. I really like people that constantly attract a certain type of person, maybe a person that has like narcissistic tendencies or a person that has certain traits and characteristics. Sometimes we subconsciously attract those type of people because they are familiar to us. We are comfortable with that. Even if it's toxic, we may have been in that environment in our childhood. So therefore, as we get older, it doesn't seem like such a foreign thing to attract this person that has the narcissist tendencies, or to attract this person that is not faithful. So we're subconsciously attracting those things because of familiarity. They're comfortable for us. So even if it's painful sometimes, we know how to navigate throughout that pain. So we keep attracting that type of person. And then sometimes we don't even recognize what's healthy and what's not. In my 20s, I may have thought something was totally fine. And in my 40s, I'm like, oh no, hell no, I'm not taking that. So it really kind of depends on where you are in your life, how well you know yourself, and how much work you've done to take a look at any of those past traumas that may be causing you to attract a certain type of person.
And see, I'm glad you said
You go ahead.
Go ahead, Specs, because we always, you being the male, you get left back. So,
well, this is not even. But this is about me, but it's not about me.
Oh,
I have
geez.
I have two women friends that I have known for a couple of years, and I always tell them because we talk about relationships, and both of them, I always said to them over and over, "You date the same guy with a different face."
Yep.
Mm.
Mm.
So what what can I say to them
Mm.
instead of saying they're having the same conversations? Because for me, sometimes I get frustrated and I can be kind of short. And I know that's not a great thing. But I have a friend that calls me every once in a while and is complaining about the same two guys going back and forth,
He
and
mad.
then the same issues. So one time I told her, stop calling me about that. We can talk about anything else in the world. Do not mention his name. Like the last guy, don't mention his name. So we didn't talk for like 2 months. So she called me. We shooting the shit. Talk about whatever. So she was like, yeah.
And by the way,
So yeah, and I was like, ah. So so what can I say to my friend without being an asshole?
Good question.
Without
that's
being
an
an asshole,
excellent
but she's
question.
dating the same man. There's two of them, but really there's one that's going back and forth to the same guy. Other one is kind of, but dating the same man. But they date the same man, different faces.
Different
And,
face.
and as a friend, sometimes I'm tired of saying
He
the
mad.
same thing. Like I just want to, what? So
I
so
can't.
what? I'm saying as a
Yeah.
friend, what should I like? But make it simple for me to say to them, so I can be like, hey, blah 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 blah.
As a friend, the only thing you can do is have one final conversation with each of them to say, listen, you're my friend. I love you. It is not comfortable for me to see you repeating this pattern. You dated this person and this person and that person. They all have very similar qualities and they're all hurting you. So you have to put up a boundary and just say, I will no longer have a conversation with you about this person, or that person. So it's a boundary you have to set on your end in terms of helping that person come to that realization. If you've already had countless conversations with these two people, then there's not much else you can do except just kind of be a friend and, again, have that boundary up so that you're not constantly banging your head against the wall, talking to them about the same issue. Just, acknowledge that they're dating the same person
Yeah,
repeatedly, and there's not much else that's going to change with these two people because they're, these individuals that they're dating, because they're constantly attracting that. So your
I just hate
friend,
being an asshole
that's
Well,
okay.
because I have to have that conversation. Like, what are you talking about? You said this already, but he not really into me. But I love him. How long has it been going on? 10 years? What?
Yes.
So
You
is
might
that
okay.
person watching the show? Do they watch?
No, I hope not. Uh,
You might
So,
need
ooh.
to
So
lovingly refer them to someone else that can help them if they're willing, if they're open. If they just want to keep
yeah,
kind of being on the hamster wheel, there's not much you can do, but you might want to very lovingly and gently refer them to a therapist or someone that can help them, a counselor, someone that can help them kind of identify why they keep picking the same type of guy.
before you
okay,
go ahead, Liz, it's interesting that you say it because I run into a lot of women that have attachment issues. And it's like really weird because if you just sat there and you just had a diary, maybe by yourself, a notebook, and why are you with this individual? And you'll come up, oh, because I love him, and then the eyes and this, and it's just like, what's deeper? I think that it's so interesting because the women that you're talking about, sex, and I think we all kind of know somebody who may have attachment
And
issues.
men.
Absolutely.
Men and men.
Men and women, but they have mommy issues, all types of stuff. And it's kind of like, when are you going to get it together? And it can be frustrating. It can literally be frustrating when you're on the outside listening and they're going over the same thing in a hamster wheel. And it's just like, come on, you got to do better. But I can say this. They say, Specs, that you are a reflection of your friends.
Dang, yeah, really? That's how you feeling tonight?
I'm just saying what they say. Now, I didn't say that.
now you have to understand that I traveled a little bit. I worked in the music industry for a lot of years, so I have a lot of diverse friends.
Okay.
So that the whole spectrum of everything. I have friends in every category, so that could be true. But I have almost anything you can name in life. I've either dated that type of woman or have that type of friend and just cool, male and female, and I've seen them do stuff or heard stuff. I was like, whoa, I didn't know that was you do. Whoa, I didn't really? Okay. We cool. So yeah, so I could be that, but then that's good for me because I like to be diverse in my friends, and I have people I talk about relationships, queer, bisexual. I'm not sure I want to get out the closet kind of, like I have a male friend that doesn't consider himself to be gay, but he doesn't sleep with women. So, but he's still my friend.
But
so
maybe
I have a lot of.
So maybe that also shows the comfortability that they have with you. Maybe you're open-minded to them, and have a groundedness,
Yeah, because it's not my thing in life to judge. Like I never want to be like, you're going to go to hell because of this. Like I'm not God. I'm not God at all. I'm flawed. So I think because God sees everything that I do. So my thing is I'm that open. So if you can see my flaws, who am I to judge you? So I use that every time I talk to somebody and I'm just like, man, that's wild.
Wait, let's not forget about Liz as we done
Hey Liz.
Parking lot.
do Liz.
Liz, I got
you. And everything.
I got you.
Liz is like, what? Okay,
I have two questions based on everything that's been going on the table here tonight. So, both for Vaughn, right? But so I know Kia kind of opened up the questions, if you would, talking about older people have less of a propensity to deal with the BS, right? Is that more or less what you said? And that younger people are writing it out. Now, I could be wrong. And based on what you've seen in your practice, Vaughn, isn't it to the reverse? At least I've seen that older people, there's two schools of older people, right? There's the one that they've been married for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And, husband's a low life that's got kids everywhere that comes home when he feels like it, whatever. And she will write it out because they don't believe in divorce and the shame of it and whatever. Then there's the other older person that might be single, maybe not married or was married before, that they'll hold on to absolutely anything because I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm not gonna find anybody else to love me. So I'm just gonna hold on. Whereas young people are like, yo, on to the next one. So I perceive it the opposite of Kia. I'm wondering what your perception is in terms of letting go.
I have found that younger people tend to hold on more, and older people tend to have less tolerance for bullshit. I'll put it that way. Okay. So that's just what I've seen, and one of the reasons I think that is because younger generations are maybe just kind of getting into this idea of what society tells us is love, or this whole fairy tale Disney World, love is all you need kind of mentality. So they're just getting introduced to that. So maybe they're feeling like, oh, well, it's okay for me to hang on to this toxic person because, love prevails. Love is gonna, conquer everything. Whereas someone that's older, maybe has kind of been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and they're kind of like, you know what, that's not reality. Now I know maybe in my 20s or 30s, I thought differently, but maybe now that I'm older, I'm just seeing that is not the case. But I do agree, Liz, sometimes older generations that have been married for several years, they do have a much harder time letting go because especially in the Black community, we are taught if you've grown up in the church, you're not supposed to get a divorce. You're supposed to, hang in there and be the ride or die or whatever. So it's, it's different frames of thought. But I would say for me, I think I've probably seen younger people that are still in more of that, let me just kind of tolerate anything so that I can meet my king and we can get married and have a baby and have the whole fairy tale and white picket front fence. So people that are more anxious for that lifestyle are willing to tolerate a little bit more. And then people that, like I said, they've been there, done that. They know they don't have to settle for that. They're comfortable being single. They know who they are. They're usually a little bit more open to saying, okay, this is not working for me.
Now, Vaughn, let me ask you this quick question about you broke up. Let me see if I'm gonna bounce back real quick. Let's see what's out there. So do you think an individual can have too high of standards, I mean, their standards are so high they can't get not one man because or woman, you know, they have to be this height, this weight, this job, this, and it's funny because thinking about the YouTuber, the Kevin Samuels, the women will get on there and they'll have this. He has to make $100,000, dollars or more. He has to do this. Do you think a woman or a man's standards could just be like, come on, like, deflate your head a little bit, or is it just like, no, these are your standards, write them out and you'll get it?
I say if a person has that many things on their checklist of what they're looking for, they have to be prepared to understand that the dating pool is going to be much smaller for them. And it's so funny. People that are just starting to date might have this laundry list of 20 things they're looking for. After a while, some stuff they start scratching off because they see that maybe it's going to be tougher to find that person. So if someone is willing to, wait months, years, decades or whatever for the person that meets all 20 of these things and go for it. I am a person that really tries to coach people on not looking necessarily at the more frivolous things, I would say. So look at character things, look at what their values are, look at those things that are like more substance, because the frivolous things can change. Someone might be, fine at 30 and then by 50 they don't look the same. Like those things are fleeting. So look for the things that are more deeply embedded in someone's character as your kind of base. And then the height might be nice to have. Maybe I want somebody taller than me, I can wear my heels or whatever and not have them try to make me wear flats. Those things to me don't make as much of a difference, but the person that is pursuing a partner has to also see that for themselves. So usually people that have been through some things, they are a little bit more flexible on some of the frivolous stuff, but more of the character things are what's important. So also, I think sometimes we create this list of what we want and we don't necessarily have those things ourselves, So it kind of goes back to putting the work into yourself. Like if you're not making 6 figures, but you require your partner to, then you really have to understand that, a partner that is making 6 figures, maybe he wants an equal, somebody that's also making that. Right. Maybe, he feels like he needs to be evenly yoked financially in that way. So if you have those things and you're looking for someone with them, great. But if you don't have half the things you're looking for, then you want to really look at yourself and see kind of what value you think that you can bring to a relationship if you're not meeting everything on that list that you have for your partner.
I mean, I would say be careful what you look for too. I've seen people that talk about, my man better have a washboard stomach, and you find that dude that's got the 8-pack, the 12-pack, and now your man spends his whole day in the gym.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Working on that 12-pack you wanted. So you know what I mean? It's so vain. Or he spends all his time in the gym, or he's taking all these supplements. Or he got bedroom issues because he spends all his time in the gym and checking the list that you thought you wanted.
Right. How important are those abs now? When you think about it, it's for everything.
Do you find that a lot of people don't really realize what they want in a relationship?
It does shift. Yes, absolutely. And that comes from knowing yourself. It also comes from dating experience, You may think you want one thing and you get it and you're like, like Liz mentioned, maybe it's not so important anymore. So yeah, it does fluctuate as we grow and evolve. Our needs and wants grow and evolve with us. So stuff that you wanted at 25 might be different from what you want at 35.
Right.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this, and if you could give some good advice on this, because I see a lot of situations where a person wants to per se break up. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm a Gemini and people just come to me and tell me all their problems, but they'll come to me like, man, if he snore one more time, or if she buy one more Amazon package, I'm out of here. So people will say whatever, right? And I'm listening, taking notes like, you know what I'm saying? And so with that being said, I find that these individuals will come say something to me like they're getting trapped in the relationship. A lot of trappings happening. So like, let's just say you wanted to break up. And I'm like, well, now you can't break up with me because of this. You needed me for this. And so you was right there on that edge, but they use these trapping techniques. How do you break that trap? Like they won't throw the little dangly carrot there. Like, next time I'll let you buy a little bit more Amazon,
Mm-hmm. when people do that, it's very manipulative. Anytime you feel like you have to trap somebody into being in a relationship with you, you have to like really look at yourself, but also the person that feels like they're being trapped. They have to recognize that as manipulation and not allow themselves to be in that situation. So don't let someone guilt you into being in a relationship with them, or don't let someone make you feel like you owe them. Oh, well, I helped you do XYZ, so now we're bonded for life. So it's a certain level of what's the word I'm looking for? It's self-worth, definitely, but it's also just kind of recognizing that is a manipulative, toxic pattern for someone to make someone feel like you've got to be indebted to me by staying in this relationship with me.
Right.
Yeah, I've been there.
Oh, what?
Here we go.
I'm just saying. I don't have to tell you my story. I'm just saying. I gotta tell you the story.
That intentional. I got a little. I want to hear the story. Talk about it.
I want to hear the story.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I won't say any names, but this is what happened. So I met this young lady. I was extremely attracted to her. Just like boom, pow, wow. Okay. So we're in a relationship. So we talking. So I never really asked her. Well, she told me she worked for the government, but she never really, I don't ask like what you do and all that. So, what you make. So she was like, hey, I make this. I was like, oh, that's nice. So, and she made really good money. So I was like, okay, cool. So she was like, I can get this and I can buy this. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So when the relationship when it started to go down, she mentioned the stuff that she offered to buy or the stuff that she bought that I never asked her for. And I was like, I never asked you for that. You can take that shit back. Like, why would you even offer it?
Wow.
So she would throw it in my face. So I was like, okay. So then she wanted to break up with me. So I'm trying to save the relationship. So now I stopped and I was like, all right, I'll let this go because you want to let it go. And then she wanted to get back with me. And I told her one time, I was like, you like to throw things and use your money as power. And that means nothing to me. I was married before and I gave everything away. Every time I move, I've given all my stuff away. Stuff means nothing to me. So I'm good. And I said, I love you and you love you. I love me. You don't love me. And one of us, if both of us can't love me, then at least I need to love me.
Hey.
And then, so after we broke up, she would call me every once in a while. I'm like, you know what? I miss us. And I always type back, I miss what I thought we could be.
Ooh.
Because he's grown, y'all. Oh.
Ooh.
So she stopped. But, because I would say the same thing. And then she'll send me like little TikToks of maybe like, women are a reflection of men. And I would stop her sometimes and be like, I never thought women were that weak. Women are who they are. You're not just a reflection of me. You are a person before I met you.
Right.
So that's not a thing to me. My mother is strong, even though she's leaving me. She's strong. My grandmother was strong. They weren't reflections of my father, my grandfather. They were people.
Right.
So that's not how I see women. So, but every blue moon she would send me with those little messages from YouTube or TikTok, or, women are a reflection of men, and that's all they are. And I was like, yeah, no. Thank you, though.
Thank you for being so unfiltered, letting us inside of your life. And she needs to go do something with herself because you are not having that.
Have a high value. They place a high value on materialistic things. They may have been like totally okay with that. Oh, she bought me this, so I might as well just stay or whatever. They may have.
And she was generous. Don't get me wrong. She was generous.
Yeah.
It was a blessing. I was like, Jesus. But when she wanted to, she would use it. And I was like, whoa, I never, like if I asked you for something and you bought it for me and then you want to use it, I'd be like, damn, well, I did say this. All right.
Yeah.
Don't volunteer something and be like, I did this. What?
I want to take it to another direction, if I may, Vaughn. And let's just say you break up with your partner. And then, I don't know, 6 months later, you're back with your partner. why do they say that the breakup sex is just so good? Is it because you missed that thing? Like, now I haven't broke up with nobody, right, for all these years. So I don't be knowing. So I'm just, have you heard that this thing is like, man, this is the reason why I couldn't let it go, because he was slanging, banging, and she was different. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think part of it has to do with the fact that emotions are heightened. You know, if you're getting back together or whatever, emotions are heightened. And then also, if you're getting back together 9 times out of 10, you're thinking about all of the positives of the relationship. Mm-hmm. So you're like fantasizing about how wonderful this person was. And you may have even forgotten why you broke up in the first place. Or maybe that reason is kind of lower on your priority list. So everything is good because you're thinking about all the positives, all the good memories. Emotions are heightened. It might have been a while for both of y'all. Maybe each of you are trying to put it on each other because, you know, you want to see won't let that person know what they missed. So it could be a variety of reasons.
You're like, yeah, all right, you ready? Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna show you what you missed. So that's a little bit of it too. But yeah, it's a lot of new factors coming into place, but normally doesn't last. The first few times, yes, great, wonderful. You know, I missed you so much or whatever, but after a while you kind of fall back into the same old pattern. Unless somebody has done some work to make some changes.
Mm-hmm. What about the folks that get into these situationships based off of the sexual attraction and, like, you know, just, you know, sometimes you be finding somebody who just know how to do your body good, but you don't realize, you know, but you don't realize that attachment really is because of the sex. And you think you're having this whole full blown out relationship. And then once the sex starts to, like, you know, get a little boring, what else is there? How do you know the difference between if it's a relationship or really based off of sex?
So that's an excellent question. And I think the reason why it seems so confusing to some people is because everybody's idea of a relationship is different. So someone's idea of a relationship might be, okay, we have a really good time, we're friends, and we have great sex. So those are just 2 components. You know, maybe you don't have the compatibility, maybe you don't have the commitment. So that's not a relationship in somebody else's eyes. So usually a relationship is, or at least an exclusive monogamous relationship is all 4 of those components. Yes, you have great sex. Yes, you're very good friends. Yes, you're very compatible. You have similar values and life goals. And then also you both have a desire to be committed to just each other. So if you have one of those things and not the others, then you just have one thing, basically. You just have amazing sex. So the sex may cause you to, it may cause you to feel like, or you may be influenced by the sex so much so that you kind of think that you have the other things and you really don't. So it's just about being objective and taking a look to see, doing like a little bit of an audit on the situation. What is this really? You know, are we compatible? Do we both want to be in a committed relationship? Is this person my friend? Do we have that companionship? So look at all the other things outside of sex that are important to you. Now, if you're a person that is just like solely interested in good sex and you don't really care about the other things, accept what it is. If it's good sex, it's just good sex. But don't try to make it into something that it's not. So be real with yourself and just kind of take a little bit of an audit and determine what is this really, you know, and have an open, honest, candid conversation with the other person too, because they may have a different perception, you know, of what it is. So just be honest and open, but just try to take some time to take a step back and be as objective as you can, which is hard to do when some good sex is involved.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
That's something of the personal story by.
And love, you about to create whole families, white picket fence, dogs, and everything.
Yeah,
and like that.
Before I go give a question, Liz.
Yes, I do. So, and I am completely open to being wrong here, but I have a theory. Right? Example, picking one thing. Earlier, you mentioned like people that are attracted to narcissistic personalities, just picking one, right? And so, generally speaking, sometimes you're attracted to that because that's the yin to your yang, right? If you're a codependent person, a narcissistic person is gonna be that missing piece, right? So is that always unhealthy? Right? Or is there just something, is there some value in knowing that you have this issue, whether you're the narcissist or the codependent person, right? Because if you're the narcissist, you might need to find somebody that's more of a giver, and you need to be realistic with that. That's you're the person with your hands always open, right? And if you're the other person, you also, I think you should be realistic that, you know what, I am drawn to a narcissistic personality. I need to know this about myself and give myself boundaries. A narcissist can't respect boundaries. That's why they're narcissists, right? But but if you know this about yourself, is it healthy to then move forward, or should you just avoid that?
That's an excellent observation, and that's 100. Well, in my experience, that's true. So, yeah, narcissists tend to attract codependent people intentionally. So they know what to look for. They know how to like reel them in. So yeah, it is a yin and yang relationship, but it ends up becoming a trauma bond to some extent. So it's not a healthy relationship dynamic. So even if you're comfortable in it because you dated several narcissists or narcissistic types of people, even if you're comfortable in it, it still isn't healthy. And at some point, maybe not today, maybe not next week, at some point you are going to burn yourself out of that relationship. It's going to hurt you more than it is helping you. So then, the codependent person needs to really take a look at their own past, their own traumas, their own triggers, their own even family dynamics, because a lot of times it begins, as a childhood, what you were exposed to as a child, what types of relationships you saw, your relationship with your father, your mother. So they may need to take a look at their own lives and kind of do some soul searching and explore why they're attracting that person. What is it that they need to change to kind of reshift and reset their idea of what's healthy? Because like I mentioned earlier, your idea of healthy may be your idea of healthy because it's all you've known. You don't necessarily know until later on you kind of hit some type of rock bottom in the relationship where you're like, shit, this is not working for me anymore. I've evolved, I've changed, I had this aha moment. So that's when I think, for things like that, where you really have to look at your past and your own, traumas and things like that. You want to maybe explore that with a mental health professional. No shame in that whatsoever. But if you come to that realization that you're attracting that type of person, rarely will the narcissist come to that realization, like you mentioned. Boundaries are not their thing at all. It's usually on the codependent person to be like, okay, wait, I think this is a trauma bond. This doesn't sound right. This doesn't feel right anymore. Let me talk to someone outside of the relationship and try to get some resolve, or trying to get some guidance, or try to get some help.
So Ty had a question, but I wanted to put it out there, Ty. I got a notepad parking a lot of my questions. Are you doing that?
No.
See, go ahead. Go ahead.
Right.
I'll be after you. I'll go after you.
Oh, and I'm just, all this is like great information and very helpful information, right? And again, we understand that this applies regarding like an intimate partnership or a family, dynamic partnership, business. It could be anything. But for me, the reoccurring theme I keep hearing is like taking inventory and looking at possible past traumas, and experiences. So in regards to you being a relationship therapist, how does that work for you? Because it seems like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like to even start to bake that cake in regards to the relationship, there's like the direct correlation between other mental health that that person may need to see.
Yes, excellent question. And I am a coach and not a therapist. So as a coach,
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. As a coach, I focus on helping you move forward. If there are some things from your past that may be keeping you from moving forward, I will absolutely refer someone to see a therapist, a counselor, or someone else that can help them unpack previous traumas or previous life experiences that may be holding them back. So usually if there's something like that that's identified, I will make that recommendation. But yeah, if if someone is kind of aware of those things already, and they are already familiar with what happened in the past and how it's impacting them, and they've already done the work to try to shift their mindsets, then I can certainly help them move forward. But any types of, narcissistic relationships, and I don't diagnose anyone, but I can just kind of say, hey, you may want to speak with someone about this, that, or the other. But yeah, I do put them in the proper hands to make sure that they're able to appropriately and effectively deal with anything that happened in the past that might be hindering them from moving forward. Great question.
So just to kind of chime in on the people coming in. So, hey, everyone. Hey.
Cash.
Good evening, everyone. Great evening, queens and kings. Yes, yes, yes. Another hi. Thank you for the love and the shout out. Humble Lion. We love you. We love you. And Cash Money says here, we might need to just go back to arrangement.
Did y'all give me a giggle? I tried. I really did. Cash, we got to take the keyboard away from you, hon.
Well, it's interesting because I hear that a lot about the arranged marriages. Let's just say there was no such thing as abuse. Let's just use that. No one's abusing anybody or those things. What I do appreciate from arranged marriages is it being a thing of you're kind of in a situation where you're not in love with the act of being in love. A lot of times I see that there are individuals who just get into a relationship just to get into them. And they don't even know why. And like you said, like Spec says, he has individuals who come to him, same situation, different face. How the arranged marriage per se would work. I mean, marriage is a business construct anyway. If you look at it on certain, dynamics. But at the end of the day, I do feel that it has to be more structure. I think that when you just kind of go out there on a whim and just kind of like, oh, he said he liked me, or she's, in this la la land or vice versa. I think that's when it can kind of, you get your hopes up, and you end up falling flat on your face. I mean, it's a lot of times when people go in these relationships, it's kind of like, why did you pick this person? Like, you hear a lot of toxic stuff going in. I'm like, what's going on? Like, and I don't want to ever compare my relationship to other people, but I'd be like, wow, that's what's going on over there.
But don't arranged marriages have a better percentages of staying together than regular marriages or kind of regular marriages?
They do. I don't know what the numbers are, but I feel like the reason why there's less divorce in arranged marriages is because there's that pressure to stay together because of your family dynamics. Your family is now, joined with this family. Y'all got to make this shit work for the most part. It doesn't mean that people are happy in their marriage. It doesn't mean that they're thriving. They're their best selves. They just feel like they don't have a choice. So sometimes they stay. Now, on the positive, sometimes they end up falling in love and everything's hunky-dory, which, that's a positive aspect of it. But just because, people are not getting divorced doesn't mean that they're not happy, doesn't mean that they're happy or that they're in a healthy situation.
Let's get some more comments here.
Ooh. And my mouth is all open while I'm looking at it.
Oh, Lord. Jesus.
I've noticed that I had a trauma bond with my childhood friend. We might have to skip and then finish reading because she explains.
Okay.
You see, I want to resolve all our differences, but she's a developmentally delayed narcissist that doesn't know that she's a developmentally delayed narcissist.
That's interesting.
Wow.
There's a third part to that.
Is there? Okay.
Let's go.
Thank you, Liz. Her behavior is spilling over to her daughter, who is my daughter's best friend, and it's a constant struggle. Help. Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a multi-layered situation. And, off the bat, I'm going to say I feel for you because it's a difficult position to be in because you're only one half of that relationship dynamic with your childhood friend. If she has no idea, which most of the time when people have narcissistic personality types, they don't know, they're not aware of it, they're not taking any accountability. So the burden kind of comes on to the other person to, you know, if you try having conversations or try resolving the issues, if that person is blocked off and closed, it's going to be very difficult. I would say impossible unless they're open to seeing their own stuff. If at all possible, if you think this person might be open to seeing like a therapist together, that might be helpful. But for the most part, there's not a lot you can do other than to set up a boundary and try to minimize the damage to you. And as far as her daughter, and it's spilling over to, you know, her daughter, who's best friends with your daughter, I would just say, just try to be there, if at all possible, be there for her when those situations occur, and just kind of be a support for her. Because there's not a lot you can do unless somebody is willing to kind of see that, you know, they could do things differently, or, you know, it may be them, you know, that's contributing to the relationship not being healthy. But for the most part, I would say just focus on trying to set up boundaries, trying to minimize communication. Sometimes narcissists feed off of whatever emotion you give them, whatever information you give them. So try to keep conversations short. Try to be matter of fact. Try not to go into too much detail about what's going on, because sometimes the more they know and the more that they feel, they can kind of use it against you. So it's you have to protect yourself, and then at some point you may just have to, you know, sever the relationship.
It's interesting you said that, because I know for myself, just to kind of chime in and share something from on my end, having a codependency and an emotional bond with a friend, and it's kind of like, especially if it's a long-term type of relationship that you've known the individual, it's like a breakup. Like you literally, I mean, like you're looking at pictures and you're singing the songs and why, and you're just going through this whole motion. And for me, I literally went through withdrawal, because if you're used to having the same thing over and over and over, and it's not there, you're like, it's like you're missing something. And I can say for my healing, being able to compartmentalize that individual helped me a lot. I love this person to death, but I know on certain levels, I just can't have, and I guess that's the boundary. I can't have those type of relationships with that individual just because I'm not that person anymore.
Right. Exactly.
You know, I've grown, and I think in reference to your situation, from the comment that came in, it may have to be something like Vaughn mentioned, you know, not saying too much, but giving like, hey, how you doing, girl? Da, 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 but not saying that you got the new job or whatever. Just kind of knowing where to put in and put out. Go ahead, Liz.
I'm going to comment here, right? Because I noticed a couple things that she mentioned, right? That she said it's a trauma bond. Typically, when people speak like that, it's because they feel like they're in a situation that they can't easily walk away from. That's the bond, right? And it's from childhood. So I can only imagine that it is not the easiest thing in the world to walk away from somebody from your childhood that you clearly have a bond with. But when you toss in there that, you know, now it's affecting your daughter in a roundabout way, I need that mama bear in you to come out and say, friendship be damned, my daughter comes first, right? And so your first priority as a mom to me, right? And I could be overstepping, so you just mentioned it if I am, right? But your first priority should be, you know, I need to take care of my daughter, right? And I need to start talking to my daughter about what it's like to be in a toxic friendship or a toxic relationship without even calling your friend out or making her feel uncomfortable about her best friend, but starting to explain that some things are not healthy, and starting to protect her more than you're protecting your friendship from your childhood that you may need to put behind you. That needs to be, okay, she said thanks. So I didn't know the stuff. But, you know, and that's just my 2 cents. I don't know if you guys.
Some other read the rest here. So
she said, sorry for any typos. Yes, she mirrors what I say back to me or others where it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
We got.
And then, yes, Kia, I am growing and changing. I'm putting me first, and most of my closest don't like it.
And then thanks, Liz. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, like you said, that key word there is childhood friend. I mean, that's years. Even for family. And I was going to mention that to you, Vaughn, in reference to break up with your family. It's so interesting because I know, like, let's just say right now, someone disrespected you walking down the street, or your neighbor. You may say 2 words to them and keep it moving. You ain't lost no sleep. You check them, they go about your business, and that's it. But that person that you see constantly, or maybe they're at that barbecue, or whatever the scenarios are, you know, it could be your sister, it could be your mom, it could be your dad, it could be whoever. They are so toxic, and they just constantly are doing whatever. And you have to pull yourself away, but it's a struggle because that's your blood. I mean, maybe that person birthed you, maybe that person raised you, whatever the scenarios are. How do you break it? And then, like it says, you know, the last comment, she said, and most of my closest don't like it. So let's just say you had that breakup with your dad, like, yo, my dad is just so toxic, or I don't know, my sister is just so whatever. And they're like, oh, you're shunning your sister now? And now everybody's looking at you like you the black sheep. I can't believe you ain't speak to your uncle or whatever.
Yes, we put so much value on blood and family,
Right.
things that we don't even choose. You know, we were born into situations. That doesn't mean we chose them on some, you know, spiritual level. But for the most part, I feel like, you know, again, it's the societal messages that we've received, that we can't break up from a parent or a sister or a brother or whatever, because that's our family. But I think we have to kind of like flip the narrative on that and look at it a little bit differently. If that person is unhealthy, they're unhealthy, whether they're your sister, your mother, your father. So you have to be prepared to almost like you got to take on the whole family sometimes, because if you cut off that relationship, or you break up with that family member, then the rest of the family is going to do like what you just said, Kia. Oh, I can't believe you're doing this. But you have to kind of stand on your own for a little bit and just do what's healthy for you and what's going to be best for your mental health. And it's not easy, you know, it's doable, but it's not easy.
And that's the part of change and growth. I mean, I know for myself, I feel that we're put on this earth plane to learn. Like, if you're not learning and growing, then what are you doing? You know, but with that being said, it may take a lesson, you know, where like, hey, you broke up a relationship with the neighbor, your ex-boyfriend, your coworker, your this, but when it came to, you know, cousin Tasha, you just cannot, when it came to your cousin Tasha, you just can't, you know, cut that bond. And that might be the universe just testing you. Let's see what you got, you know, because at the end of the day, you have to cut those ties. And like I said, if you're able to put people in these categories, okay, only when it comes to this, I'm going to only deal with you with this. I'm going to still talk to you and say, hey, girl, I love you, blah, 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 but I'm going to only talk about these objects with you and, you know, these topics here. I'm never going to borrow money from Uncle Louis because, oh, my God, you know what he does. And this one over here, tell your business in 5 seconds. So you got to kind of have to know where to put people in their spots. And it's hard. It's hard, but we can do it. And we have support systems. Thank you, Vaughn, once again, you know, for even being here and coming on and giving these little, you know, these nuggets of gold, just letting us know. But we do have another comment I didn't want to skip.
And we have, what is love? I believe it's an act, not a feeling.
I'm with you on that, Amy. I'm an acts of service kind of girl. So, you know, we were talking earlier about how we define our own idea of what a relationship is. Everybody has their own definition of what love is. So I love the whole idea of love languages, because I believe, you know, there's so much truth to that. You know, if you buy me flowers and I'm looking for you to say I look beautiful, you know, I'm not going to be as impressed by those flowers. So it's about kind of knowing yourself and how you like to receive love, but also how you like to give love. So like Amy, I'm an acts of service girl. So if you do something for me, that means the world to me. Now, it's also nice to have, you know, words of affirmation, or have gifts, or have physical touch, or quality time. Those are also great. But I would say, you know, I want all the love languages for one, but my primary one is acts of service. So it's about kind of knowing how you like to receive. And then, you know, the flip side of that, too, if you know that you are a person that likes to give quality time, and maybe your partner is more of a physical touch person than a quality time person, you have to adapt a little bit to what your partner wants. So I would say love is, you know, kind of in the eye of the beholder. But for the most part, you know, the way that you express it depends on kind of what your primary love language is, or you know, how you define it for yourself, because it's going to be different for everyone.
Before we go into these other two comments that came in, I just want to put out there to the audience, you know, now and later, please try to love yourself before you go into any relationship. And this is, you know, the neighbor, this is the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the same sex, whatever. If you don't love yourself and you got all types of baggage, then guess what? You're going to add your baggage with their baggage, and now you got a whole truckload. And that is the way that, unfortunately, this is the 20th anniversary of how Aaliyah passed. Aaliyah passed away 20 years ago. And they told her,
Yeah, that's right.
guess what? Do not put this amount of luggage on this plane. And there's a lot of different stories that came up after that. But at the end of the day, they still allowed a certain amount of weight to go on that plane, regardless of who did it, why they did it, this, that, and the third. And that plane went down. And we lost a singer, a legend, and these different things just because we were in a situation where we allowed so much baggage and weight. If I have all these issues and I'm fucked up in the head or whatever the scenarios are, and then I come meeting you and I'm like, okay, you got your stuff going on too. Imagine what nightmare we may cause. Yeah, we may laugh, we may joke, we may have great sex, but at the end of the day, really, I'm carrying your baggage and mine. How are we going to end up actually being weight-free and carefree if you got all this stuff and I got this stuff? And don't get married. Oh my God, you tied to people for life. If you get married, you're tied to the family for life.
Yeah, but you want to know what too? Like, I think, again, like, it's like we get so caught up in what we believe things are supposed to be like from different sources, and just not knowing ourselves, you know, going back and not knowing what our needs are, what our wants are. We get caught up in a lot of different stuff. And I love the fact that you were talking about like love languages. And something that I wanted to add really quick, like I'm thinking about, I'm very big on like words and using words and how we manifest, right? And also changing our mindset. So example, and love who we are and what we do, but think about like the title. So the title is like breaking up and, you know, those types of relationships versus saying, I'm not breaking up with you. I am building a better commitment with me.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. So I think if we worked on things, like it makes you feel better. You know, how can you think about it? How can you feel good about growing and ascending and changing who you are when we keep the same negative language, which feeds into the negative undertone? It doesn't feel good, but saying I'm committed to me, thank you, but saying I'm committed to me, I am an investment.
Yeah, it's fun. Oh, go ahead, Vaughn.
Oh, no, you can go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say something that my mom taught me when I was 9 years old and made me memorize it. You know, shoot, it's like a mantra. It's the first law of preservation in self. That's it. On that plane, it's going down. You're not putting the mask on the baby first. You got to put the mask on you first, then the baby. Because guess what? If you pass out, ain't nobody there to take care of the baby. So at the end of the day, you have to be able to sit down and do that homework and do the different things in the legwork. It takes work. And especially if you got some type of messed up family dynamic, you got to pull back those layers and find out what's going on. You know, here we got a couple of comments coming in here.
We have, yes, boundaries are okay. Yeah, they are. Yes, they're needed. Boundaries. And sometimes space equals growth.
Yes. So yes.
And loving yourself is the key.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amen.
It really is. It's
can we add to that, like when you're saying loving yourself is key, and again, it goes back to knowing what that love is for yourself, because we still have that toxic love that we might be used to. So eating healthy, you know, mental and emotional health is all part of loving yourself.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. We put so much emphasis on the external part, like the bubble baths and the candles and it's self-love. We put so much emphasis on that, but self-love has to do with how you value yourself, how you treat yourself, how you protect yourself, like self-preservation, what Kia just mentioned earlier. So many more dynamics to it. It's not just the external, the physical. It's the emotional. You know, if you know that you need 10 minutes, 15 minutes to kind of get yourself together before you walk in the door at home, self-love is taking that 10 or 15 minutes to do what you need to do to make sure you're okay before you go home and try to, you know, jump into wife mode, mom mode, or whatever. So knowing who you are and what you need and giving that to yourself, because nobody else is going to give it to you. You know, you have to take that responsibility for yourself. And that whole idea of loving yourself, that is at the core, because, you know, that impacts who we date. It impacts what kind of job we have. It impacts our friends. It impacts how we parent our children, you know, and it definitely impacts our mind, body, spirit. Any type of relationship dynamic is going to come from that self-love. So sometimes go ahead, Kia.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, can I be the person in the back repeating that for you? I mean, you literally can just sit and just mind your business and watch relationships. And you're like, man, that person doesn't love themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is so true. But you know what? When you see people that learn how much of an investment they are, you watch the energies that start to cling to them change. You know, somebody had mentioned in a comment earlier, Miss Davis, that her closest people don't like the growth. And then I also think about, maybe it's not that they don't like the growth, they can't understand the growth. Mm-hmm. They don't know what that is because they're stuck.
Right.
Right.
They're not ready. No. Let's get to these comments real quick here.
Yes, Ty. You can't pour from an empty cup.
No.
Listen. And I get up at 5 a.m. every morning to get an hour alone.
I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, I wanted to say this comment and ask my last question, but what I wanted to say is also something that affects a lot of us is just fear. You know, when I hear people in relationships, regardless if it is a married boyfriend, girlfriend type thing, whatever they got going on, it's like of the unknown. I've been with this person for, 10 years. I've been with this, I've been in this situation. I've been working in this job. I've been doing this. I'm doing this, you know, and what's that unknown? I'm used to every morning waking up to Bobby. I'm used to every morning waking up to Sandra, you know, or what will the friends say, you know, when I come to the barbecue and, you know, they're not right there, whatever. Okay. And I would encourage anybody to find a way to combat that fear. So Shawnette is somebody who graces the stage a lot and gives great advice and counseling. And there's a thing called rational fear, you know, and irrational fear. And I think that we need to know the difference between the two. Right now, if you said, man, I used to be very fearful because I grew up homeless, you know, for a long time when I was younger. And I was like, I will never be homeless again. Oh, no. And I'm doing all these different things and I'm always going to have a job and And I remember Shawnette telling me, like, wait a second, if you lost your job right at this very moment, you have all the tools that you need to be right back where you came from because you have the resources, you have the education, you have all these different things. You'll never be homeless again. So stop thinking in this mindset of being so fearful. So I think when it comes to these relationships, a lot of times we just don't know that unknown. Like, I'm so used to you know, and you just don't know what to do. But that's my little piece. My last question for you is there a tool for anybody that has broken up, wants to get back in a relationship? You know, they're ready for the dating scene, but they still feel bitter. You know, that man, he done cheated on me. You know, is there something that they can do not to be bitter? Because not every man going to cheat on you or every woman.
Yeah, I really think the best thing they can do is look at whatever date they broke up as kind of the fresh start, blank canvas. So forgiveness is not one of those things that happens instantly. It's something you have to gradually work towards. You have to forgive the other person. You have to forgive if there was a third party that was involved in the cheating, or mother-in-law, it was all in y'all's business. Whoever it is, you have to forgive the third party, the person you were with, but you also have to forgive yourself for either not listening to your instincts or tolerating things for way too many years. So I say forgiveness is something you have to do on a very gradual basis. Unfortunately, there's no magic wand for it. You have to like consciously every day try to, ask, if you're a praying person or whatever, ask to help your heart to forgive. But also for forgiveness, I think one thing that you can do to keep from being, or to try to keep from being bitter and forgive, is to really be empathetic. Just know that whatever that person did to you, there was something in their life that caused them to, the phrase hurt people. Try to look
Okay.
at more empathy towards why that person may have done that. That person may have cheated on you or totally blown up your marriage because they didn't love themselves, or maybe they didn't have a father figure. Not to make excuses for them, wrong is wrong, but try to be more empathetic towards what wounded part of them may have caused them to make that decision. So try to focus a little bit more on that, and that kind of helps you, again, not justify what they did, but it helps you to kind of reframe it, so to speak, and just put a fresh start, knowing that, hey, this happened on this day, I decided to leave this relationship, leave this marriage. Moving forward, I now know that I'm not going to be in that situation again, because I'm going to actively work on doing things to make sure that I choose a different type of partner. So again, no easy answer, no magic wand. It takes some time, it takes some work, but bitterness is definitely not what you want to have in your heart. I think it's natural in the beginning, but after a while you have to kind of like just stop yourself and just say, look, I can't be this way anymore, because that bitterness starts to corrode your own spirit to some extent. So you do more harm to yourself than you do to the other person. So love yourself enough not to harbor those feelings inside anymore. Try to redirect them to positive things, or in a different way, and just give it some time. Time is kind of the best answer, as long as you're actively doing something with that time.
Ty, Liz, Specs, any last words, any last questions for Vaughn?
Well,
Go ahead, Ty.
I just want to say, can we make sure we put her information
Yeah,
up?
definitely. Okay. Do that right.
Yes, that's number one. If you want to, Kia, just go over her quick spiel again, or you want to wait to the end while you're
yeah, I was gonna say go ask your last question, and then from there I was gonna read the last comments, and then give all the information. So
I don't even know if I really have a question. It's just I really want to say thank you for again giving us information and understanding that we have a lot of things that we need to deal with, and it's okay. And then meeting people where they're at, and these are, I guess, these are all the things that I hear from the conversation that we were having. Meeting people where they're at and taking self-inventory, and just making sure that you understand yourself and what you're looking for, and just not staying in toxic relationships. That's, I guess, that again, I'm blurring it out, but that's just what I hear you saying. It's just, yeah, that's it, really. It made no sense, but this is just the things that stuck out.
No.
Yeah, for sure. We jumping in there and piggybacking a little bit on, I think, everything that was said tonight. Anybody that's ever had more than a 10-minute conversation with me has heard me say, right? And so every person in your life is doing one of four things, right? They add, subtract, multiply, or divide. If they're not adding or multiplying in your life, and that goes for your childhood friend, Miss Soya, if they're not adding or multiplying in your life, you should really get serious about taking inventory and eliminating them, even if not permanently, for a while you get yourself together. And when your family is judging you for that growth, and your friends are judging you for that growth and everything else, if they're not adding or multiplying, they can go too. Again, maybe not permanently. And Vanya, correct me if I'm wrong here, but self first, right, Kia? You know what I mean? So, I think it's one of those things where we have to get really serious about working with people that are wanting to work with us, right? And when we're talking about breakups, I think the good news is, another thing that, my isms, if you would, The person you are today is not who you were yesterday, and it's not who you'll be tomorrow. So keep that in mind and let it go.
We all dropped some tidbit nuggets today.
Yes. One more thing too, when we talk about breakups, we talk about what we're losing, but really try to reframe that and think about what you're gaining. So if you don't have peace of mind in your relationship and you exit that relationship and focus on your joy on, I have peace of mind now. I don't have this, to deal with anymore. I have joy. I have happiness. Focus on what you're gaining by letting that relationship out of your life. And I will also say that whenever you leave something behind, whether it's a friendship, a family relationship, an intimate partner relationship, a job, that is opening the door for something new. So start getting yourself in the mind frame that you're looking for something positive to come. You're expecting something good. You don't know what it is. So look at it like an adventure and just focus on doing what you have to do for your own joy, your own happiness. Life is too short.
I like that.
Anything, Specs?
No, I just learned a lot. Just, hearing different sides and different views, and, I'm still processing a lot of that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. We have 2 comments here that just came in.
Take care of your mind.
Yes.
Absolutely. And as long as God wakes me up, I will be good. The tool is faith.
Hey, I like
Yes,
that.
yes, definitely. And I know, Vaughn, and letting everybody know that you are on the West Coast. So once again, thank you for gracing us on this East Coast time frame, or even Central, no matter where you're tuning in. If you're wanting to reach Coach Vaughn, she has her new IG. So it's at Coach Vaughn Simmons right there on Instagram. So you can kind of definitely just hit her up and these different things. And then also we have VaughnSimmons.com. So you're not branding yourself. What are you really doing?
Yes.
No, but thank you so much for this information here. It's nuggets that we could take with us. We're in some troubling times. We're going into September where I can kind of get back to talking about those topics that I love to talk about, politics. But with that being said, though, I just want to put out there that while we're going through this whole COVID thing and everything, this is a perfect opportunity, especially when you was kind of quarantined or whatever, to kind of know who you are. When you're looking at him swallow that thing, you were like, why your Adam's apple so big? You might, I gotta pack my bags and bounce. These are things we did to him. I'm like, wait, why you shave? Oh my God. Or she's shaving. You didn't know she shaved that way. All types of stuff, So these are the opportunities.
Just let her go. What I hear is maybe the universe set us up to be quiet.
Yeah.
While
you looking at him swallow that last piece of turkey wing, you like, you don't eat nasty. Sorry. But you already know. We look at people and we were like, I didn't know you had all them freckles. Like, you start counting it. I'm sorry. But you gotta know yourself and what you like, right?
Right.
Especially, we want to say, like I said, I hope everybody is being safe if they're being affected by the hurricane that's going on. I heard that one of the whole parishes lost power, so it's really rough right now. And then, of course, remembering the fallen soldiers that just passed away recently, the 13 soldiers. But we'll be back at it. Thank you, Vaughn, once again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
If you want to hit her up again, also on IG, that's the IG page that you can go to and get all your information. Thank you. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.